welcome back to Aussie Backyard Food. I'm just on my way into Hampton State Forest, which I haven't been to for a good number of years, and in fact it's the first time I've been in here with a 4-wheel drive. So I'm looking forward to getting into some more hard to reach corners this time round, and hopefully finding some free range goat or venison to put on the deck and to ultimately put in the freezer. I'll also be looking for a nice secluded place to camp for tonight before I head out to a new property I've managed to line up. So I'm hopeful that I can make a ongoing, long-lasting relationship with this landowner. He's a conscientious farmer who likes to do the best by his farm and his animals and the land in which they occupy, and he's looking to rid some of that land of some of the feral animals that are currently causing a considerable amount of damage. Let's face it, we've changed this country immeasurably in the 230 odd years that we've been here, to the detriment of the environment. There's a whole heap of feral animals that have changed this landscape forever. Our country's original inhabitants for 65,000 years were very much in tune with what it takes to hunt and gather their own food. As the global population expands to what I see as unsustainable levels, there's this unquenchable need to supply food in ever more disturbing ways. Abattoirs full of factory farmed misery and hundreds of thousands of acres of pesticide and herbicide covered monocultures. Is it any wonder we have such a high prevalence of allergies and autoimmune conditions that medicine still can't quite explain? Whether you're vegan, vegetarian, fruitarian, carnivore, omnivore, whatever, comes back to you are what you eat. I think we need to start a new movement, and it's all about eat what makes you healthy and happy. For surely none of us can be happy if we're not healthy. I'm gonna have to come up with a catchy name. I can see it. Healthy Happy Foodarian, perhaps. Doesn't really roll off the tongue, does it? Well, Hampton State Forest, bit of a disappointment. I did find a nice spot to camp, however. So it's important to always think positive, I find. So I'm really hopeful this property that I'm on my way to this morning is going to yield some results. As much as this is all about enjoying the journey and loving the challenge, there's nothing like getting a result for all your hard work. And I did happen to notice before I left, our freezer's looking decidedly empty. Things are looking up. Just met up with the property owner, and as I suspected, hell of a nice bloke. The wind, it's coming consistently from the north. The owner was also good enough to point me in the right direction, so that's going to save me a few hours of legwork. The property is a good mix of remnant bush and pasture, albeit very dry. My plan is to get in amongst the trees and just do a bit of glassing out onto the open pastures and see what we can see. Let's go and get into it. Just spotted a herd of goats coming across this hill through this paddock here that you can see through the gaps in the trees. Doing what I can to get in front of them and stay downwind and out of sight. They're just up behind these trees here, trying to predict their next move. Still in the fringe country, legging it to try and quietly get ahead of this mob. Wind's in my face, everything's right. Currently the mob are just walking down this side of this gully here, and they should be popping their heads out just past this tree line here. There's the mob right there. Not sure whether to just stay right here, wait for them to come through this funnel point, or if they're going to keep on this current direction, in which case it's bugger all cover out there. We'd have to sneak down this valley here and hide in, try and get in amongst those trees. Well, I'm sorry I didn't film that hunt, guys. I was hopeful that I'd be able to, but as I'm finding with this bow hunting, it's a difficult enough job without trying to film it at the same time. I ended up breaking this position you saw me in earlier and stalking into the mob because I ended up taking an unexpected change of direction. But I got a shot away on a really nice nanny. It all happened so fast, they ended up walking straight in on me. It was a rush shot, but I'm reasonably confident with it. There's good blood on the arrow, so let's see if we can find and follow a blood trail. Okay, our first spots. That's a bit better. Oh, here we go. Awesome. Beautiful coat. So I got it done with the compound today. I'd actually switched over to exclusively shooting a recurve, a timber recurve. But unfortunately, a one-piece recurve became two at full draw, snapped in half. So I've got another one on order from Black Widow in the States, but it's going to take a little while to get here. So it's back to the compound for now. But just let me talk a bit about this goat. This farmer, like a lot of farmers in New South Wales, is really struggling under extreme drought conditions. Although it looks relatively green in this patch, if you look back behind the camera, it's actually quite barren and stark. Yep, for me it's a win-win-win. But most of all, and like I've said in previous videos, it's about sourcing good free-range organic meat for my family, as well as taking a few pest animals out of circulation. So really happy with the result today. Beautiful coat on this nanny. A few burrs in there which we'll be able to sort out, but plenty of good eating. Let's carry her out. With this channel, it has always been my aim to improve the health of myself and my family by providing the freshest and most nutritious food possible. And at the same time, to document my journey and create awareness around the many benefits of such a lifestyle. In the past, I've had my own struggles with ill health, including autoimmune disease and various allergies. And it has been through this food-related journey that I've reached a place in my life where I can honestly say that I've never felt more strong, healthy, and content. Is this just because I hunt, gather, and grow much of my own food? I'm not sure. I guess it could just be some sort of placebo effect. Or, like I have always suspected, maybe it's just that good, fresh, homegrown food could work a lot like a medicine. And could it also be that the reverse could be true? That highly refined, processed foods with an unrecognisable ingredients list as long as your arm, and that our ancestors wouldn't recognise, be at the root of many of our modern ailments. It has never been my aim, however, to discuss the ethics of hunting. I know there are many, particularly here in Oz, who are anti-hunting. In fact, once upon a time, I counted myself amongst their number. But now I feel that I have bridged this gap and have viewed this sometimes highly emotional debate from both sides. I've formed the opinion that I reckon there aren't too many more ethical ways to obtain such a highly nutritious and highly delicious source of wild protein. I feel like I've tapped in or awakened some dormant part of my psyche. I feel a connection to my ancestors, my omnivorous, distant relatives, who in all likelihood were quite successful hunters. And let's face it, if it wasn't for our ancestors being reasonably competent hunters, then none of us would be here today. Welcome back to the lab. Our free-range goat, it's been dry aging for 3 days and it's changed a lot in colour. It's starting to reach a sort of rich, dark colour rather than that light crimson colour it was when we first skinned it out. As far as the skin goes, in the process of salting it so that I can later tan it, because I reckon why not make use of as much of the animal as we can. It'll make a lovely feature floor rug with a story. So I've got my parents coming over for dinner tonight, and what better way to celebrate Father's Day than to cook the old man an honorary goat's neck faux soup for Father's Day. You might even say it's a faux Father's Day because it's actually 2 days late, but anyway, we do what we can. So I will just add, the reason for the insect mesh is to keep, as you might have guessed, the insects off our precious goat carcass. While you might be trying to do everything you can to improve your meat by dry aging, it only takes a couple of blowies to spoil all that hard work. So it's important to cover up. In case you're unaware, let's talk about the process of dry aging and why you might like to do it. Visibly, the meat has changed a lot in the 3 days that I've had it hanging. It started decomposing, but with the help of beneficial bacteria. It's that beneficial bacteria that you want to encourage. Opportunity to give your carcass a nice clean off, pick any stray bits of hair you might have missed earlier. Start planning what delicious delicacies you're going to prepare for your loved ones with your recently harvested wild goat carcass. In times gone by, it was a common thing for every family to have a meat safe, often under the house or in the coolest part of the house. It just simply was a screened box to allow your meat to improve. And often these old techniques were there for a bloody good reason. With this carcass tonight, I plan to utilise the neck. I'm going to separate the shanks, the shoulders, the legs. I'm going to do something new this time. I'm going to have a crack at making goat sausage. You know what? Just thinking about it, I might have a crack at some nice smoky barbecue goat ribs. One bit of kit I've found invaluable in being able to preserve some of your best cuts of meat, whether it be just to store it in the fridge or to prolong its life even in the freezer and avoid freezer burn. These cryovac machines are a relatively inexpensive addition to your kitchen appliance collection. It's the process of dry aging that will tenderise and ultimately improve the flavour of your meat. And there we have it, one delicious goat's neck. I can understand that it's not everyone's cup of tea to eat an animal's neck, particularly in our conservative Western societies. To many other cultures around the world, the neck meat is one of the most highly prized cuts, and I can certainly understand why. I use the 40 points method to dry age my meat. So basically, if you've got an average of 10 degrees Celsius, then you'll dry age for 4 days. But if you've got an average of 4 degrees Celsius, then you can dry age for 10 days. Now for everyone's favourite, the back straps. I haven't quite worked out what I'm going to do with those, but I'm going to save them for something special. Now I'm far from an expert butcher, but I find you can't really go wrong. There's your premium cuts like your back straps and your legs, your shoulders and your neck, as I've explained, feel my favourite cuts. Everyone knows what to do with shanks. I'll think of a nice sort of slow roasting way to cook up those shanks on a cold winter's day. But really, for any bits you're a little bit sus on, they're great for a curry. And in my case, this time, goat sausage.
Aussie backyard.
Now, like I say, I'm far from an expert butcher, but that piece of meat there, that backstrap, is as good as you'll come across in any 5-star restaurant. And to think, this animal was nothing but a pest to a farmer. Someone's going to wake up to this and make a hell of a lot of money, I reckon, one day. And of course, let's not leave out those little tender delicacies known as the tenderloins. Right there, baby. protein. I reckon they're the duck's nuts. 2 back straps. They won't even go into the freezer. I will be able to prolong even their fridge life. It's as easy as that. All the butchering is complete, and what you see there is the only wastage. Every other part of the animal is utilised. All our ribs, one leg, that's our offcuts for sausages, shanks, tenderloins, back straps, shoulder, neck for tonight's dinner. Our guest of honour has arrived.
Thank you very much, mate. I'm really looking forward to some neck.
Other leg and other shoulder. So plenty of good organic free-range eating in that. Well, our faux Father's Day faux soup was a success, and I'm under strict instructions now to only target goats with large necks. My first attempt at tanning a hide, I'm quite happy with, and I look forward to having this rug with a story as part of our house decor for many years to come. Let me finish by sharing with you a bit of a montage of some of the meals that we cooked and shared as a family that were all as a part of me harvesting this goat. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. It's been good to share this story with you, and I look forward to catching you next time right here in my Aussie backyard. Catch ya. Wild goat backstraps. So steamy. First stage. Wow. Mate, check it out. Juice factor off the Richter.